Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 50 of the Social Liability Podcast, the podcast where we discuss those folks in our lives that violate the social contracts that we all agree to live by. I am your host, the Raspberries, with my co-host, the Buck Grundle, bringing you new and interesting stories from every corner of the internet, including viewer submissions today. What the heck, Buck?
What can I say, man? We have, quite a following now.
Yeah, like 5 people.
Hey, man, that's better than 4.
That's true. So how you been this week, man?
I mean, I got hit with a little bit of unfortunate news.
Do you want to talk about it?
Well, I would, but I was rude enough to put a starburst in my mouth before I started talking.
Good
job.
I
was trying to figure out like where in my tongue I could put that starburst because I wasn't ready to swallow it yet. It was, but now we're over it. But no, my youngest.
I gave you a whole 60-second lead up to hitting record.
I know, and it took me all of that time to open one freaking starburst. I am sorry, dude.
But I literally ask you, are you ready? And you're like, oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was, because then I was like, I can open a starburst in under a minute. Much to my chagrin. No, I was not able to execute. But either way, I am, I'm happily here. But my week was shrouded with a bit of a cloud. My youngest child needs braces.
Ooh, so which kidney are you selling, the left or the right?
Nah, man, I don't even think I can give one of these away. People look at me and they're like, "Yeah, that's a hard pass."
I'll just stay on dialysis, thanks.
Yeah, it's my machine, your machine. Yeah. But no, so other than that though, week's actually been pretty good. Very uneventful, as par for the course. Aside from the little braces debacle, whatever. But at least I can lay my head down at night, going, at least I won't have a child with a mangled mouth. Like that I wouldn't like. That's just no. I wouldn't do that to my own seed. Send them out with like no. If I can avoid it, yeah.
Well, let this be a lesson to you folks. Dental insurance may suck to have, but it's nice to have it when you need it.
Just make sure that your plan covers orthodontics.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of them don't. And what a lot of people don't realize too is most plans, when you get them, there's like a cooling off period. Because they don't want people just getting the plan, having the procedure, and then dropping it. So you have to have it for X amount of time before you can do major things, or like cleanings and stuff like that.
Well, not to mention the fact that there's normally a waiting period.
That's what I'm talking about.
No, you're talking about a cool-off period. I'm talking about a waiting period.
Same goddamn thing.
No, it's not.
Sure it is. It's not. Really? No. What's the difference?
Well, what you're talking about, I've never actually seen in an insurance document. The waiting period is time before the policy actually takes effect.
And what would the difference between be a cool-down period when you buy something but you can't have it until a certain period of time?
You said that it was after you bought the policy you couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done.
I'm done here, right? Okay.
I'll just see myself out.
So I'm gonna, behind me here, if you're watching on the video podcast, I do have a blue screen up. I'm gonna replace it with a chalkboard so I can just start keeping a tally. Oh, geez. All right, Buck. Let's jump right into this. So I got an email from apparently somebody that you know, or somebody that reached out to you, who doesn't know what a paragraph is, because it is just a wall of text. So I may get through this and I may not.
Well, hold on. want to give this man a shout out. Okay.
Well, I would have before I started.
Well, no, man. I just want to give a little context. All right, a little bragging.
Go ahead.
I've known this guy for 10 years. Okay, and I met him because he and I were in the same alliance with the Marvel War of Heroes online trading app, like card game app. And we were in the same alliance, and I don't know how the hell we actually did it, but we just turned out to be like stellar good buddies. And he and I have been friends since then.
Nerd.
Oh, big time, man.
All right, so this comes in from our viewer, or listener rather, Art. So Art, here's what he has to say. Now, a little context from what we were talking about before the show. This actually is like all the way back from episode 1. We're on episode 50, Buck. This is like all the way back in episode 1, before we even had a format. We were just literally getting on here and talking. And we were talking about bad neighbors. And I guess that Art wanted to share with us his bad neighbor extravaganza. So let's go with this. I'm going to stutter through this a lot, but I'm going to do what I can. So, I moved into my new apartment on November 1st. As you know, I don't know Art, but maybe Buck does. I need to move back to Texas due to a current situation I'm having with my ex-wife, moving back with my daughter. I was able to locate an apartment on Facebook Marketplace, of all places. The apartment was located in a town in Texas. I'm not going to say the name of the town. This is a town that I worked in prior to my stroke. So what, you collect medical case friends?
I knew him before that.
I hope.
Yeah.
I worked in the water department for 5 years in this city. The ad on Facebook Marketplace showed that the kitchen had a granite countertops, as did the bathroom. The apartment was advertised as a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment with a monthly cost of $650. As I was still in Arizona, I was unable to look at the apartment in person. Well, this sounds like my story almost from when I moved to Oklahoma. But I was familiar with the complex and where it was located in town because where I used to work there. The day that I arrived in Texas, I went to get my apartment, and I was startled to find once I got there, the front door to the apartment had not been cleaned since it was the last tenant moved out. There was dead and live cockroaches in the living area and in the kitchen and cabinets. At this time, I went to go see the assistant manager for the property and have her come inspect my apartment. Due to the mess and the infestation, she said they'd be discounting the first month's rent by $75. Bull crap. It's already unfit for human habitation. You don't pay rent until they fix it. But then again, you haven't moved in yet, so you haven't taken possession, so they could have told you to just kick rocks. But I digress. I also asked why my apartment did not have the granite countertops in the kitchen and the bathroom as picture showed. I was told that my apartment had not yet been remodeled, and once the remodeling was complete, the apartment would contain the mentioned countertops. The rent would go up, though. No. The apartment contained Formica countertops that were painted white. Ooh, who paints countertops?
Ooh.
Ooh. The condition of this paint was horrible. Visible streaks in the paint and stains. Vigorous wiping of the countertops would cause the white paint to come off on either the sponge or the rag that we're using to clean. Well, yeah, because they painted it.
Yeah, no kidding. Man, sorry to hear about that.
What are you playing with your lighter?
I was trying to open another Starburst. I just didn't think it was going to come through on the microphone.
Oh, my God. I've
been at this one for over a minute.
My first night there, I was woken at 3 a.m. by the upstairs neighbor. She was blaring her music, and I could hear the bass bumping on the floor, which was my ceiling. After hitting the ceiling with a broom handle. Hey, stop it up there! She finally turned the music down. The next day when she saw me, she said she didn't think the music was that loud, and I explained to her that it was. Her rebuttal was that she works late at night, so when she comes home, she relaxes by listening to music. Well, I relax by doing other things, like bagpipes, you know? The literal song and dance would go on for the entirety of my stay in these apartments. After several loud music incidences, I went to the office and told the property manager what was going on. She advised me that she hadn't, I guess you mean hadn't, in the past had multiple complaints from this tenant and current complaints from upstairs neighbors about the noisy neighbor. She stated that she's had enough of the complaints on her and they would be starting the eviction procedure on her. Damn! They never did anything to her, however. I then noticed that there was a big gap between the bottom of the door and the door plate, and that the weather stripping around the door was missing. I can literally see daylight coming from between and under the door. I advised the office about this, and it literally took them 2 months to get this fixed. I got a noisy neighbor now with a truck. I lost where I'm at, because like I said, this is just literally an ocean of text. Where's it at here? Where's it at?
Success. I finally got the starburst open.
When I first encountered my first Texas storm since moving into the apartment, I had my 7-year-old daughter at my place. She came into my room and told me there was water in the apartment, it was on the floor sitting in her room. Wow. When I went to look in the left corner of the apartment, I saw a large amount of water just pooling. Next to a power strip, a wireless router, and the modem being close to the said pool. I had to go get my electrical equipment off the floor and throw towels down to soak up the standing water. I notified the office of what was going on, and they said the apartment building has a foundation issue and needed to be repaired. They told me that in the meantime, they would place sandbags around the wall of the apartment on the outside to prevent water from standing in that area, thus preventing water from seeping into my apartment. After a couple months, my neighbor on the bottom floor beside me moved out, and a couple moved in to those apartments. They seemed nice at first and were busy deep cleaning the apartment. After a couple days, I began to notice the pungent odor of burnt marijuana coming into my bedroom from next door. On several occasions, and I've lost my spot again, thank you, email program that keeps moving to different emails whenever I hit the down arrow. On several occasions, I was woken up between 2 and 3 with a splitting headache due to the amount of marijuana smoke entering my apartment. One day when I was in my apartment, I could not take it anymore, and I went next door and knocked on the neighbor's door. She answered the door, and I advised her that my apartment reeked of marijuana smoke and asked her if she could please stop. She then began to tell me that she didn't smoke. I stopped her and advised her I had spent 6 years as a police officer, and I knew the odor of burnt marijuana. Advised her that my kids come over every other weekend. I cannot have them exposed to marijuana, as it would endanger my time with them. Her boyfriend must not have been home at the time, as she at some point told him, and I received a knock on the door later that night. Upon opening the door, he advised me that he did not smoke marijuana. I told him he was lying, and I knew what the marijuana smoke smelled like due to my law enforcement experience. He then tried to tell me that he has permits for marijuana in his possession. Well, in the state of Texas, there is no medical marijuana. Possession of marijuana of any usable amount is a Class B misdemeanor, punishable by up to 90 days in jail. I then told them that he then told me he was going to call the police. Okay. Which time I told him to go ahead and asked him if he needed the number. I asked him if he was going to call, and then he just stood there, and he asked me if he needed to Google the phone number. He said he didn't need me to Google the phone number because he knew it. He then asked me if he was going to call. I asked him if he was going to call or not. He then got mad, told me to call them. So I did. Upon arrival of the police department, I spoke with the police officer and the patrol sergeant. They advised me that the county district attorney no longer pursued marijuana charges unless they were felony charges. They basically told me they weren't going to do anything. The next day, I went to the office and advised the property manager what had occurred the night before. She stated the guy had been there earlier in the morning to complain about me. That's funny. The man was not on the lease. The apartment was in his girlfriend's name, yet the apartments did nothing about this. I think contacting my old police department, I I think contact. I think he says I've been contact is what he meant to say. I spoke to one of my lieutenants, and who used to be my partner. She advised me that even the district attorney office would not pursue misdemeanor medical marijuana charges. The police department could still arrest the individuals in any marijuana violation, and left it up to the district attorney's office whether or not to pursue charges. A couple weeks later, the noisy neighbor upstairs apparently got a pit bull puppy. Okay. The plot thickens, I guess. Late at night, the dog would run full speed upstairs, and it sounded like a track meet. I was awakened several times due to the dog constantly running upstairs and the constant barking. I then devised the office. I think he meant advised the office what was going on. Did Viasat, the dog, I don't know what that means. Verify, maybe? The dog was not on the lease. And there was
verify,
and there was no pet deposit paid for the dog, and that was a violation of the rental agreement. Again, apartments did nothing. One day I went to the office to ask about all my complaints and how they were being handled. The property manager said that she had a bottom floor apartment open in another building, and that the tenants in the building were older and quieter, and I should have none of these problems that I'm currently experiencing in this apartment. I asked her when the apartment would be available and for me to move in there starting in 2 weeks. The 2-week time frame came and went, and as I was growing tired of living in this ghetto apartment with these ghetto neighbors, I then decided it was time for me to try to find somewhere else to live. And by the grace of God, I located a 2-bedroom, 2-bath duplex, literally on the same street, only 2 blocks up from the house which I lived in before moving to Arizona. I completed my application, submitted my deposit, and then found out that people that were going to be willing to help me, and then found people to be willing to help me move. All I needed help with was the furniture, as I could box up the rest of the stuff and move my own. I moved out on a Wednesday, finished moving on Saturday. During this time, it had been constantly raining during the day. On Saturday night, when I got the last of my stuff, I looked around the empty apartment and noticed standing water in the entirety of the living room. Obviously, the foundation problem had gotten worse in the 6 months since I lived there. I never gave the apartments notice when I was leaving. I placed keys in a Ziploc bag and wrote number 36 on a piece of paper, which was the apartment number, and placed the keys in the mail slot to the office. Now my daughters have a room and a bathroom all to themselves, and I'm only paying $75 more a month for the extra room and bathroom. So, I mean, you got some social liabilities there. You really do.
Oh my gosh. It's like making a sandwich on moldy bread. Like he had an asshole above him and an asshole below him. Like what the?
Yeah,
man.
I mean, we talked about that in our first episode about home ownership and rentals, and I was having both problems at the time because when I moved to Oklahoma, we rented a place sight unseen, and the pictures that they sent to us were obviously a few years old, and didn't take into account the flood that apparently damaged the place, or the fact that the owner had hot wired the whole building, or the fact that the one bedroom that was to my son's reeked of cat piss, or that none of the appliances worked, or that the porch had caved in, and amongst other things. I mean, it was a pretty bad situation. But then we moved to an old place and we rented, and it was okay. I'm still waiting for my security deposit back, so if you're listening to this former landlord, you can go ahead and get that in the mail to me pretty quick, please. It's been 14 days. But the neighbors were all shite. Now, it's just a horrible situation. And it doesn't matter if it's owning or renting, you're always going to have to deal with your neighbors. And I think anytime you move, you need to kind of vet the neighborhood you're moving into at this point. I know in some cases it's not feasible, but if you have that opportunity and you're not in a rush to move, maybe spend some time in the neighborhood. Just kind of creep on them a little bit and do a little trolling and vet that neighborhood. Make sure it's someplace you want to live.
I hate to say this, but that's actually very prudent advice. That it's, and I only hate to say it because the world has evolved to a point where that is, that's really good advice.
I mean, you're renting right now, and just the slew of neighbors that you've had come and go. is just, you've had some pretty bad experiences.
Well, it's actually been with the same neighbor that I've had for the last 3 years, but we kind of just had to set some boundaries. Like, we had to have a conversation, because it was getting that bad, and he and I were just like, all right. And then we spoke to the landlord. Landlord was like, I'm going to put up some sound barrier, do some insulation in the flooring, try to cut down some of that noise. Like, yeah. And, we're just waiting on that and being really freaking cool to each other. So, there is that. But,
yeah, it is what it is.
Well, it's like you said, man. If they don't move, I have to live above them unless I move. Like, that's, you're really at like a stalemate. What are you gonna do? You sit there and bitch and harp and moan and report and do whatever you got to do. But if the people ain't gonna stop and they ain't gonna move, you still have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think, I'll just call the landlord; they'll take care of the problem. No, they're not.
No,
Why,
they're not.
They're not. They don't want the people to leave. They want to keep the paychecks coming in. But anyway, let's move on to our normal format, and we got some stories we're going to go over here. And here's an interesting one coming out of Florida, of course. A Florida woman is accused of posing as a student and sneaking into a high school to promote her Instagram. Yeah. A Florida woman was willing to go to some extra depths to promote her Instagram account by sneaking into a local high school and posing as a student. Aubrey Nicole Friend something, I'm thinking that's Hispanic, I'm not sure, is now facing charges of burglary, educational institution interference, and resisting an officer after police said she blended in with students and nonchalantly walked into American Senior High School in Gile on Monday, according to police. Yeah. To carry out the ruse, Miami-Dade police said the 28-year-old woman donned clothes similar to a high school student, carried a book bag, and entered the school holding a skateboard and carrying a painting. Oh, why a painting?
Why a skateboard?
I don't know. I just kind of think of that Steve Buscemi picture or a video of him coming into a high school looking old as fuck with a hat on backwards and a hoodie and saying, "Hello, fellow students," or "Hello, fellow teenagers."
It's just like...
Well, after successfully gaining entry, police said she walked through the halls, handing out flyers promoting her Instagram account and asking students to follow her on social media. She allegedly took cell phone videos of herself wandering through the hallways. One student told the local station that she had been recording video and showing off her Instagram account, which featured videos and images of her wearing a red devil's mask. It's crazy, the student said. It's very creepy. Police said she stopped some students in the hall, preventing them from going any further to their classes, and what they said was a pre-planned attempt to gain access to the school. As she was wandering the hall, she stopped by security while the other students were in class, but she claimed she was looking for the registration office. Rather than going to the office as she claimed, she continued to roam the halls until she was stopped by security a second time, and they deemed her as a potential threat on campus.
Yeah.
A little bit. Why'd they let her go the first time? You walk her to the office. You don't just say, "Oh, it's that way."
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Well,
let's just get this train wreck over.
Well, she refused to stop for security officers and managed to slip out of the school using a side exit leading to the faculty parking lot. She left behind obvious clues of her identity, however, on the flyer she had been passing out, which listed her Instagram handle. Brilliant. Police tracked her to her North Hollywood Beach home where she was arrested. I don't know how many cops outside right now of my house. Oh my God. I hate when they quote them. That she posted that on her Instagram prior to her arrest. "I'm not going outside at all." Oh, but you are.
Oh, yes, you are.
After she was taken into custody, police said she voluntarily offered to show them the video she had recorded in the school. She reportedly works as a salesperson for Carnival Cruise Lines. The company said they were looking into the allegations against her. She was also once employed as a police officer in DeKalb County, Georgia. Let me read that again. She was once employed as a police officer. That job ended
Go ahead.
No. Okay. Well, that job ended in 2017 after she was arrested and accused of hacking into a fellow officer's social media accounts. I'm noticing a trend here. She was accused at the time of posting nude images of fellow officers on social media. She then appeared in court Tuesday for a bond hearing where Miami-Dade Circuit Court Judge Mindy S. Glazier questioned the 28-year-old and how she was able to carry out the ruse. First of all, I don't know how you get into the school. They have a guard at the front. You have to show ID. Her bail was set at $2,000. Just $2,000. I'm kind of shocked by that one. And she was ordered to stay away from the school. In a statement to NBC News, a spokesperson for the Miami-Dade County Public School said they are looking into the incident. Well, you think you should, dipshits? This is an unfortunate incident involving a female who trespassed on school grounds under false pretenses. The individual who posed as a student needed assistance was approached by school personnel who recognized that she did not belong on campus. Miami-Dade school police made contact with the individual and subsequently arrested her for her actions. Oh my lord. The website reached out to the school district for additional comments but did not receive an immediate response. They never do. And her attorney did not return requests for information. So, I've looked at the picture of her, and I'd be hard-pressed to believe that this 28-year-old woman would fool anybody into thinking she's a high school student.
I would just... My mind immediately says, what in the ever-loving hell are you thinking? This is not the 80s and 90s anymore. You can't just go gallivanting into a school. Like, you can't do that. That's the first thing wrong. And then she was a cop in Georgia. I'm telling you what right now, my good old caregiver Katie is from Georgia, and I know for a fact that they just don't let people walk into a school in Georgia. She's a cop that doesn't even know the damn law.
Well, this was in Florida, but she was a cop in Georgia at some point before she hacked the other officers' social media accounts and posted naked pictures of them.
Yeah. I mean, what kind of mental math magician are we dealing with here?
One of the midget variety, I would think. This is pretty bad. But my question is, do you think she would have gotten as far as she did, and even like she survived one encounter with security and, had to be subsequently questioned a second time? Do you think she would have gotten as far as she did if she'd been a dude? You know the answer to that.
Of course I know the answer to that. No, of course she wouldn't have. And shame, we're focusing on her right now. But we can quickly shift the focus to the inept security forces of this, educational institution. These are the men and women that these parents are trusting their kids' safety to, and we got somebody running around promoting their own Instagram page. Like, they wonder why we have such a problem with drugs in schools.
Because you can't even stop out the influencers, let alone pot or cocaine or heroin. Ugh. All right. Well, the next one's being reported by theinquirer.net, and this is kind of funny. Indian bride cancels wedding after groom fails quick math test. A bride dumped her groom after he failed to recite the multiplication table of 2 during... Oh, she wanted... Okay, the times 2 is okay. It's just a poor... I think it's translated. During their wedding ceremony in the state of Uttar in India. The bride and the groom were supposed to be wed last Saturday, May 1st. Through an arranged marriage, some of this is hard to read, the identities of the would-be couple have been withheld. However, the bride gave the groom a quick math test as she was suspicious of his educational background. Before they could officially tie the knot, the bride walked out of the wedding venue saying that she could not marry someone that did not know basic math. The bride's cousin, meanwhile, said the groom's family had failed to disclose to them that he was uneducated prior to the wedding. The groom's family had kept us in the dark about his education. He may not have even gone to school. The groom's family had cheated us, but my brave sister walked out without fear of the social taboo. The two families eventually struck a deal that included having them return the gifts and jewelry they given each other. This is not the first of these such incidents. However, another Indian bride back in 2015 dumped her groom after the later likewise failed a math test. The groom reportedly answered 17 after his wife asked him to add 15 and 6 during their wedding, which was also held in Uttar. Now, I want to point something out with this. This is saying all this guy's stupid. But when they wrote this article, they said he responded 17, which is in quotes, with numerics 1-7, after the wife asked him to add 15, 1-5, and 6, SIX, during the wedding. Come on now.
Oh, man. And see, now we know where all the C students in journalism school end up when they graduate.
Inquirer.net.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's kind of ballsy, though. She's like, all right, I never met you before, but all right, jerk. What's 6 times 9? Oh, you can't answer it? Fuck you, I'm out. I love it.
I mean, I can't really frown at the vetting process for these women. I mean, they're responsible for procreating the planet, man. I mean, like they're just sifting out the dregs of society.
We don't want the dumb ones breeding, so yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? If you don't know 15 and 6 is 21, then you obviously don't know how to make a bottle with 2 milliliters of fluid and a scoop of formula. Like, no. Like these
Have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
No.
You've got to watch it. So the whole concept of the movie is they find the most average guy in the world, in the army anyway. I mean, he is average in every possible metric they can conceive of. And they freeze him because they want to find out, using it as an experiment so they can freeze soldiers and save the good ones for later. Well, they forget about him. And he wakes up like thousands of years into the future. And what has happened is all the smart people are too busy working, and all the dumb people kept breeding. So now the population is completely just duh.
Oh, nice.
And he is now the smartest man on the planet. It's quite the movie. You got to watch it. It's pretty good. It's actually
what is it called?
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. Man.
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm like the age-old tale, in the land of the blind, the man with one eye is king.
Well, just as a taste, Terry Crews plays President Camacho, who is a former pro wrestler turned president of the world, I believe.
Well, you had me at Terry Crews. I love that guy.
All right, next up. This is being reported by Fox News. Los Angeles area man disguised himself as white guy to commit 30 home burglaries. A black man who used a lifelike mask with fake hair to disguise himself as a white guy while committing a series of home burglaries in Los Angeles was arrested last week. Investigators have linked Rockham Prowl to some 30 home burglaries in the region. He is currently charged with 2 counts each of burglary, grand theft, and 1 count of vandalism, the Beverly Hills Police Department is said to have charged him with. Investigators linked Prowl to a pair of home burglaries in the affluent suburb committed on April 20th and July 20th. That's a 2020, by the way. Investigators linked his vehicle to the crimes through surveillance video. The images released by authorities, the suspect is seen wearing the mask and wearing glasses. In both burglaries, Prowl stole flat-screen televisions. In the security footage, they noticed that the suspect always kept his mouth open, which they realized was the case when they discovered he was wearing a mask. Prowl, 30, a resident of nearby Inglewood, was arrested May 2nd during a traffic stop by Beverly Hills police officers. In the car, officers found a face mask and other items connecting him to the burglaries. The license plate in the car was also stolen. During the search of his home, police found stolen items connecting him to additional burglaries. Beverly Hills investigators are working with the Los Angeles Police Department detectives and authorities in Newport Beach, an affluent coastal city in Orange County, to determine if he is linked to home burglaries in those cities. The LAPD Pacific Division told the news outlet that Prowl was connected to 7 burglaries in that area as well. Prowl has been released from police custody and is scheduled to appear in court on May 25th. I'm looking at the mask, and it's not even that great, but apparently it was enough to fool some people. And this dude is like not even close to being light skinned. This dude is dark, and the mask he's wearing is like Irish.
Hey, you know what? I gotta give him points for ingenuity.
Yeah, I mean it's
I mean, like he tried to find an angle and exploit it. He just the planning phase was A+. It's just that he gets a D- on the execution part.
The thing that's kind of irritating is the pictures they released, and they're showing the mask, and they're showing him walking from like just below the chin down, so you can see he's wearing the white mask on his neck, but they won't show his face wearing the mask. I'm just kind of like, come on, man! I want to see how lifelike it looked. I want to see how
yeah.
I want to see how poorly this guy bamboozled you idiots.
That's probably why they're not putting the picture on there.
I'm guessing.
You know, because he got through how many burglaries before he got caught? You know? So,
this next story is being reported out of India. And there's a name in here. And I think it's the name of a town. It's Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand, I'm going to go with. So I apologize ahead of time. COVID is a living organism, has a right to live like humans. CM Rawat says.
I tried to maintain my professional big boy face for that, but I couldn't.
So, CM, I'm assuming it's some kind of minister. Chief minister. So the former chief minister, Singh Rahat, on Thursday said that coronavirus is a living organism and has a right to live. Seen from a physiological angle, coronavirus is a living organism. It has the right to live like the rest of us. But we humans think ourselves to be the most intelligent and are out to eliminate it. So it is constantly mutating itself, he told a private news channel. However, he said man needs to outpace the virus to stay alive. Rawat was trolled on social media for his unusual observance on coronavirus, and it went viral at a time when the entire country is battling a strong second wave of COVID-19. One Twitter user sarcastically said, "The virus organism should be given shelter in the Central Vista." Seriously, dude. And even saying that humans think they're the most intelligent. What, you think the single-celled organism's more intelligent?
Do you see water buffalo driving themselves to work? No. We don't just think we're the most intelligent on the planet. There's quantifiable evidence that we are
the
most
evidence.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord. But just to make the comment, it has a right to live. Come on, dude. Come on, dude.
It's another example of somebody finding an exploitable angle and just running with it. This guy is burglarizing my intelligence.
Okay, right at the moment, we're going to take a quick break for our ad placement on our platform Anchor, where you can listen to our podcast. You can listen to our podcast on just about any platform in an audio format. So I know most people like to listen to it in the car. That's the biggest thing I've noticed. But you can listen to it on CastBox, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and on Spotify. I mean, where do you hear most people listen to the podcast, Buck?
iTunes.
Yeah. Apple Podcast seems to be like but looking at our metrics, that's where most people listen. But I'm talking about physically. Where do they listen to it? Listen to it in the shower. Listen to it in the car. Do you listen to it while you're making love?
I would certainly hope that you don't listen to my voice while engaging in the physical act of love.
Coitus.
Coitus. Thank you. Yeah, like I approve of this podcast and any other life platform except for lovemaking. You could even listen to it while you're murdering somebody. I don't care.
Wow, that went dark.
Well, if we're going to go from one extreme, might as well go to the other.
Is it on the other extreme?
I personally, it was the first thing that came out of my freaking nonsense category in the side of my head here, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, I would have to say so. One creates life, the other one takes it.
Okay. Let's get back to the show now. This is going
really. I
weird.
mean, like, why are you making this awkward, man?
You're making it awkward.
No, your awkward silence and your stale fart expression on your face.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to talk about some of the things that are just. We talk about stupid criminals a lot. We talk about stupid criminals. But this one's pretty damn stupid. This is being reported by KMBC ABC News. KCPD, and I'm assuming this is Kansas City. Yeah, it is. Kansas City. Man used stolen ID to purchase a $58,000 SUV and then posed for a photo at the dealership.
Wow.
Detectives with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department took to a popular metro area Facebook group Tuesday with a plea for help to name the identity of the theft suspect. This is a whopper, and it didn't take long to put a name to the face. In the post, police officers said that they followed up on an ID theft case from last summer. Police believe the suspect used a stolen identity to purchase the $58,000 Ford Explorer from a Ford dealership on July 23rd of 2020. $58,000 Ford Explorer? Really?
Hey, man, it might have been like a Platinum.
Ugh. But the suspect made it slightly easier to follow his trail. You see, he posed for a photo with his new purchase at the dealership. Police made the post in this stolen KC group, which helps spread the word for thefts in communities across the metro area. They followed up a short time later with a post on Twitter. Turns out the suspect made it really easy to follow his trail. Police were able to identify him in less than an hour. Police say the man is already in custody in Kansas and on different charges, and they'll be following up with local prosecutors for charges in this case as well. His identity has not been released. Why the hell not? Now,
yeah, right.
The guy is wearing a gimmick mask, you know, but you can still see everything from his nostrils up, and he's got like a light bulb shaped head. I'm sure this dude stuck, and he's got a tattoo on his chest. I mean, this dude stuck out. This dude definitely stuck out.
Wow. Wow.
Did you ever have anybody come in like try to fraudulent buy a car when you were selling cars?
Believe it or not, yeah. I actually had somebody try to steal a car once, too.
Oh, do tell.
I mean, like, there's not really very much to tell about it. I mean, I was out on a test drive with a customer, and I was getting ready to, like, demo the car. And this is back in my day of using forearm crutches. So I wasn't, like, 100% handicapped yet. You know, so...
One could argue that.
Well, yeah, one could. But, you know, as long as I kept one hand on the car, I didn't fall over. So I left my forearm crutches in the trunk of the car. And I'm walking around the vehicle, and the guy just gets into the driver's seat and is like, all right, well, you know, he didn't even say anything. He just gets in the driver's seat and starts, like...
Leaving.
You know. He wasn't leaving yet. I was a little perplexed. I was kind of like, okay, I guess you want to drive now. I go over to, like, open the door, and he's like, you're not getting in. I was like, quick thinking. Like, you know, everybody has, like, this moment of, like, indecision when something like that happens, and I went, my forearm crutches are in the trunk of the car. Like that, like the man is obviously like not gonna let me into the car. But so my first thought was, my forearm crutches are in the trunk of the car. Could you please open the trunk of the car?
Give me back my Jimmy sticks.
Well, I mean, like, if he would have drove off with them, I would have just been, like, in the middle of the parking. Like, once my hand goes off that car, I must, like, relocate. And the ground is right there, you know? So I was like, can I get my forearm crutches? And he actually popped the trunk, walked around, got my forearm crutches, and the dipshit drove away. And got about maybe 75 or 80 feet. I'm not like I didn't have anything to measure the distance out, but he got a certain distance away from the vehicle that we were demoing, and the car shut off.
Because the dongle was in your pocket?
Yep. And I'd love, like, looking back in hindsight, I'd like to say, and that's why I didn't argue. No, I didn't argue because I didn't want to get fucking hurt. And, my dipshit ass just wanted my forearm crutches. I was like, well, you know what? You're going to take my car. Don't leave me up shit creek without a paddle. That's all I was thinking. Yeah, I didn't even, like, recognize the fact that I had the key. I really thought that he was just going to drive away and that I was going to have to call the dealership back up. And it didn't work out that way. The car shut off. He gets out of the car. And he's like, give me the key. I'm like,
no.
no, I don't think I'm going to. Like, he wasn't walking towards me. Like, I was kind of waiting for that. Like, if you're going to approach me in some, like, menacing manner and then demand the key, I'd have a much higher propensity to give it to you. But if you're just going to stay right there, well, I'm also going to stay right here, and I'm not going to give you the key. And we kind of just stalemated there, and I was like, how about we just drive back to the dealership? Yeah, like, how about we just close the lid on this whole extravaganza, and we'll just go right back to the dealership and be done. Like, that's it.
And how'd it end?
Got in the car, drove back to the dealership, and before I could even tell like, this is where he definitely relied on my handy-capableness. Because when we pulled back up to the dealership, like, one would immediately think, run in and tell the sales manager what's going on and blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, dude. Cripple World, there is nothing fast. Nothing fast happens when you're handicapped. Nothing. Like, it's slower now because I'm in a wheelchair, but back then it was still, menacingly, like, sadly slow. So the second we pull back into the dealership, I'm driving the car. And, the second we pull back into the dealership, this guy jumps out like his hair is on fire, gets into some beat-ass truck, and just leaves.
Nice.
And I remember my sales manager was even pissed at me for it. He's like, why'd you let the customer leave? I was like, wait a second, I need to explain to you something. He's like, you have no good explanation for this. You know that you're supposed to get a manager to talk to a customer every time, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but I really couldn't because, and he's like, I don't want to hear it. I was like, he tried to steal the car. I was trying to segue into it with him. I was like, I wanted to give him like a segue, like, hey, if there's something I need to tell. There's none of that.
He tried to steal the car.
Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting like the riot act read to me about letting the customer leave before he could speak to a manager. And I just, like, I couldn't get a word in edgewise. I was like, he tried to steal the car. And he's like, probably like a sentence more bitching at me. And then it kind of, like, I saw the face that it makes when two dots connect. Like, my point that I'm making is over here, like, point X. And where he's at is on, like, point Y. And we just had to, like, bridge that. And I saw that happen, and then he immediately just stops, and he goes, are you okay? I was like, yes. He goes, should, blah, blah, we got to call the police. I was like, I really don't even see why that would be a necessity right now. Like, the man, like, I went through the whole thing. He's like, he tried to drive away and the car shut off. I was like, yes. Yes, it did. He goes, we're going to have to put you in the training classes. This is why you never, ever take the keys out of your pocket. I was like, yeah, that's the big takeaway from this. Like, okay, I'm fine. I'll reiterate that. The key did stay in my pocket. But I am actually, in fact, okay. Thank you again for asking. Like, I remember even like at the next sales meeting, he's like, blah, blah, and I can't stress the importance of keeping a key in your pocket. And Mark has some first-hand testimony as to why. And I was just like, oh, no.
Oh, no.
I was like, more so, how about following the directions of the person who's robbing you? Notice I am scratchless. My willingness to cooperate even earned me my forearm crutches. Like, these things are important. Not keeping the key in your pocket, whatever. But yeah,
whatever.
That was my experience. So, and then we did have a couple of yahoos when I worked in finance try to come in and like act like I wasn't going to pull their individual credit scores before I started soliciting loans for them on a car to a bank. Like, they try everything. They're like, give me 1 digit off on their social security number. And I'm like, you do realize that I heard you discussing this master plan with the person that's co-signing on this vehicle. And you are actually legally obligated, both of you, to give me your social security numbers to apply for credit, not somebody else's. Are you sure that's a 9 on the end of there? Are you sure?
Are you sure?
I promise you, if I go and I hit these numbers in the computer, you will die on this hill. Like, there's no fight here. Like, after we put pen to paper, you die on this hill. Are you sure that's a 9? Well, you know what? It's supposed to be a what? What other number looks like a 9? Like, you seriously, like, come on, man.
Come on,
anybody can screw up a 7 and a 1. Anybody could do that. That's like, oh, well, I just got excited and the pen came down too quickly and blah blah blah. It's not supposed to be a 7, it's 1. But no, the fake number that you're gonna use is a 9. Like, what? Come on. Might as well just put your last digit of your social as green.
Green.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they look about as similar.
True that. Well, let's move on here. This is going to be coming out of the great state of Oklahoma. News 4. Don't fill plastic bags with gasoline. Safety Commission warns drivers amid fuel shortage.
Sage advice, Raz. Sage advice.
Oh my God! A fuel station in the east ran out of as fuel stations in the east ran out of gas amid panic buying after cyber attacks hit the Colonial Pipeline on Friday. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission is reminding drivers just how dangerous improperly stored gas can be. Do not fill plastic bags with gasoline, the Safety Commission said in a tweet Wednesday. The reminder comes as images show desperate drivers lined up at the pumps and some hoarding containers full of gas. The USCPSC urges customers to only fill approved containers with gas and shared a video of what can happen when gas hits an open flame. They sure did. We know this sounds simple, but when people get desperate, they stop thinking clearly. They take risks that can have heavy consequences. And if you know someone who is thinking about bringing a container not meant for fuel to get gas, please let them know that it's dangerous, because they'll believe you. There is currently no gasoline shortage because of the hack, government officials said. Panic buying has caused some stations to run out of fuel. If the Colonial Pipeline, which supplies roughly 45% of the gas fuel on the East Coast, isn't fully reopened by the weekend, analysts say, the situation could begin to deteriorate. We're asking people not to hoard and know that we are all over this, Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm said on Tuesday. Workers were able to manually restart the largest part of the pipeline on Monday, and Colonial Pipeline officials expect more operations to resume by the end of the week. The governors of Virginia and North Carolina have declared states of emergency as more gas stations ran out of fuel. According to GasBuddy.com, as of Wednesday, 28% of North Carolina gas stations were without fuel, with another 17% in Virginia. Multiple U.S. agencies are now working to provide alternate fuel transportation strategies, including allowing overweight loads of gasoline on interstate highways. The Department of Homeland Security will also be reviewing temporary waivers for the Jones Act, maritime law mandating that only American flag ships can move fuel and other shipments between U.S. ports. So, yeah, there's like literally people, and I've seen pictures of this, people like getting like grocery bags and shit and filling it full of gas.
Man, like, I lived in third world countries for a while, and I've never even seen people down there stoop to that level. Like, even the poorest, like, destitute people that I've ever seen in my life know that gasoline does not go in garbage bags.
But nevertheless.
Like, I just, man, we got some good ones this week, man. Like, we got some real assholes. Got people going in gallivanting around public schools, saying that COVID has a right to live.
That was the best one.
Oh, man. And now we've got people filling up garbage containers that you know, let's just put this into perspective. Okay? Looking at the picture, we're not talking about like hefty garbage bags like the black drumliners. Those look like the same garbage bags that we used to put in the prison garbage cans. Those clear plastic, like millimeter thick, could break if you breathe on it heavy kind of garbage bags. Like, tell me, like, they don't even two-ply them, I'll bet, man. Like, what the hell is wrong with people? And then let's just go through the logistical nightmare of getting your gasoline, your trash gasoline, into whatever you are trying to power with it. Okay? Oh, we'll just use a funnel. Once you crack the seal on that bag, buddy.
Well, here's the thing, too, dude. Gasoline will eat through that bag.
Well, yeah.
Very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're just going through, like, some of the obvious problems. You know, there are just so many things that can go wrong from this.
Well, let's tell you about one of the things that goes wrong, because this is coming out of News Channel 8 in Florida. Hummer with 4 containers of gas bursts into flames right after filling up at Homosassa gas station. Yeah, Homosassa, Florida. A Hummer burst into flames late Wednesday morning, right after firefighters say the driver filled up several gas cans in Citrus County. Citrus County fire rescue crews were called to the South Alabama Avenue near West Grover, Cleveland Boulevard, just before 11 a.m. Can we just point something out here? So this takes place in Florida, but the roads are South Alabama Avenue and West Grover, Cleveland Boulevard. At least it's a name, I get that, but if you've ever noticed how many places can't come up with original names, they just got to steal names of other states and cities, it's ridiculous, and it's very, very much a big thing here in Oklahoma. They do that a lot, and I just find it annoying. Well, anyway, when they got to the scene, they found a 2004 Hummer H2 on fire. According to a spokesperson for the Citrus County Fire Rescue, the driver had just filled up gas cans at the Texaco Food Mart near the scene. Firefighters found 4 5-gallon containers filled with gasoline in the back of the Hummer, or at least the charred remains of them. Workers worked quickly and were able to put out the fire by 11:09 a.m. Firefighters say one person was injured but refused to be transported for treatment against medical advice. They did not say what the injury was nor how severe. The Florida State Fire Marshal was called to the scene to investigate and will determine the official cause of the fire. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection was also notified and helped coordinate the cleanup for the fuel spill. The fire comes as Tampa Bay officials urge people not to panic buy gasoline over fuel shortage concerns. Worry started to grow earlier this week when Colonial Pipeline was forced to close due to a hack. Authorities said there is no need to be concerned in the Tampa Bay area because Florida gets 90% of its gas from cargo ships. Oh, my Lord, Buck. It's amazing how people will panic buy everything. This takes me back to when COVID first initially hit and everyone was panic buying all the toilet paper. The toilet paper. The toilet paper crisis of 2020. I remember it well.
Man. My ex-mother-in-law used to be a big person about this. Anytime that we were supposed to get a storm.
Milk and bread. Milk and bread.
Milk and bread. And I'll tell you what, and then clog up your bathtub and fill it up with water. You never know.
Yeah, because
you never know.
You might run out of water during the snowstorm. Let me point out how stupid that comment is. You might run out of water during the snowstorm.
Right. It's totally plausible. I mean, that's exactly right. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of a funny simile to put to this, and there's just so many that I'm just going to chalk it up by saying water in a snowstorm. Right. Okay. Or like, yeah, it's going to flood. We better fill up our bathtub with water. No, dude, you're going to run out of up. Like that water starts coming up and like nobody gives a shit where you got it stored.
Really? Well, Buck, that is unfortunately all the stories we have for this week. I want to remind people that the Social Liability Podcast does come out each and every week. We are starting, and I'd say in the past 4 weeks or so, we've been streaming it live on our YouTube channel, which if you just look for the Social Liability Podcast or the Mount Moon Crew, you will find us on there, as well as other videos, such as Buck's series that he did for a while and has since stopped. I don't know why, called Better Than Bad. You can also check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/the_Razgrees01. You can listen to us on just about any podcasting platform with just the audio format of the show. And if you haven't, make sure you hit the subscribe button and like and notification bell and all that stuff. All the stuff I'm supposed to say at the end of a YouTube video. And do you have anything else for us, Bucky?
No. Not a thing. Just I hope everybody has a wonderful week. And, if you're going to panic buy gasoline, put it in approved containers, please.
Please do. And if you have any stories you'd like to hear us talk about, please send them in. We get some doozies sent in on a regular basis. Viewer Shane from Pennsylvania still sends us quite a few. Your buddy Art from Texas is sending us quite a few. Sending us one now. So if you have any stories you'd like to share, please send them our way at socialliability@icloud.com. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a delightful, absolutely delightful week.